Hey everybody, this is Justice Fool, hoping you're having a fantastic day. Now if you've been watching my live streams at twitch.tv/justicefool, you'll know that I've been working on a new mega furnace array for the 1.14 update of Minecraft. Well, I'm happy to say I got a prototype going on, and there she is right there. Oh yeah, I'm going to give you guys a second to just take it all in. I'm actually going to go up here a little bit more. Yeah, just take it all in. Let it sink through you, what that is right there. This right here is a furnace array powered by bamboo. Well, now, how does such a furnace array work? Well, let's start at the beginning over here. If you see over here, we got a nice big field of bamboo. And right down here, we have a couple flying machines. I think you see what's going to happen next. I'm going to power these flying machines, and then they're going to lag things. And in the process of lagging things, they're going to start clearing out bamboo. Then eventually, we sneak on down here. If we can move, yep, there we go. Got some hopper minecarts running along there, grabbing all the bamboo that's falling. And we'll then see bamboo start shooting up into here, and they'll deposit their assorted wares right into this stream. Okay, now how does this particular farm work? Or rather, how do we know when to send out the minecarts? Well, as I'm sure you noticed this nice little colorful array of redstone here. This is what's determining that. What we got here is a single detector on this side, and then a single detector over here. What's going to happen is the flying machine's going to fly past here. It's going to hit this detector here. This detector is going to send out its signal to down here. It's going to power this dropper, but because there's nothing in the dropper, nothing will happen. But once the flying machine hits this detector here, it'll send its signal out to here, hit this dropper. This dropper does have an item in it, so that item will be shot down. So what this is going to do is when the comparator activates, it's going to power this redstone here, and this detector will see that change. It will then pulse really quick right into this dropper. Dropper will shoot its item into this hopper, and then the hopper will put it back into the dropper. This extends out this 1 tick into about 8 ticks, which is necessary for what I'm doing right here. 1 tick was just too short for this process here. So with that 8 ticks of the comparator being activated, the redstone will go along here. So if we follow this circuit down here, what we're going to see is it's going to eventually power this repeater. Then this repeater will power this block, which will power all this redstone down this way. Just like so. All the way to the end. Now these are all faced into blocks that will then power the powered rails, which are currently unpowered right now. These blocks will be turned on, it'll power these rails, and it'll send these minecarts off on their journey. Now once the bamboo is collected, it'll be deposited into one of these series of hoppers here. Each hopper points into a dropper, and there are 2 hoppers to a dropper. So you see here we got 1 hopper, 2 hopper, right into that dropper there. And it's the same thing all the way down. So if we look here, this is pretty much how all of them work. Comparator will see that there's items in the dropper. It'll turn on this comparator clock here, which will then power this here. This will flicker on and off, which will cause the items in the dropper to shoot out very quickly. The items will then spit out into this water stream, which just follow it down here. Items come down the water stream, shoot right into here, and then they get pushed down this way, right into this bubble column right here. Sometimes the items will kind of like shoot past and then they'll come back here, kind of set a little bit, but they'll all eventually get into this column here and they'll fly their way up. Okay, now this is the top of that column we were just looking at. What's going to happen here is the bamboo is going to go through here, here, just flow around here and up this other bubble column right here. And it's going to start going down these hoppers. I actually have a command block here just for the occasion, so we can follow the bamboo. Yeah, the command block is just spawning in bamboo really quick. So we can see here the bamboo is just going along here. And as it goes over hoppers that are all along here, the bamboo gets sucked in. And as it gets sucked in, it's just going to slowly start filling up all these hoppers all the way down the chain to the very end. All these connect up in pretty much the exact same way. Okay, now how do we know how often to run this particular farm? Or rather, how often should we send out these flying machines to start collecting stuff? Well, that's what this circuit does right here. As we can see, we'll have 4 full stacks of items here, and then 1 stack of 44 items. These items can be anything. I just happen to have iron ingots in here. They will then connect into a second hopper timer that only has 5 items. Now the reason it's in this particular configuration is because hoppers transfer items at a rate of 8, or it sends items once every 8 game ticks. And 20 game ticks equals 1 second. So doing the math, that's 2.5 items every second that flow into the next hopper. So I'll show you right now. So this is flowing in at 2.5 items a second. So the reason why I have 4 full stacks here and then 1 of 44, and then I have a multiplier of 5 here, is because this many items transferred to the other hopper 5 times equals 10 minutes. And that is how often I want these particular flying machines to run, is every 10 minutes. That's why I chose these particular numbers. But again, you could choose whatever numbers you want. If you want to have this be like all 5 full stacks and then maybe 10 items in here, you can do that as well. It's just whatever your preference is. My preference just happens to be 10 minutes. And that's why I chose these particular numbers. Okay, that about sums up the bamboo area. Now let's look on to the main area here, the furnace array. So we have 6 furnace arrays in total, all along there. And each furnace array will have 64 furnaces in total. There's 32 on this side and then 32 on the other side. And on both sides there will be, I guess you would call them groups. So you have groups of 8. You have 8 there and then 8 over there. That will all feed into a single dropper. All right, so we have 8 furnaces on either side of these hoppers. But what do the hoppers do? Let's take a look at that. We're going to go right in here. We're going to go to right where a hopper is. There's actually a hopper right here. I have these closed off because when I was doing my original testing, they were open like this. And they would shoot items across into each of these gaps here. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get them out consistently. I would put like water buckets in there, have the water flow out, but it just wasn't working properly. So I decided simplicity is key. Just blocked them in like that. Works a charm. So yeah, what's going to happen here is let's take these back ones, for example. There's 2 more back here. The items get shot out here, right into this water stream. They're going to flow out this way. You're going to shoot right down here. Right into here. In this case, it's going to go into a little bubble column there. Go along here. And then right into here, right at the end here. Now what you don't see here is there's actually a hopper minecart right underneath that packed ice. And the hopper minecart's going to pull the items through the packed ice and distribute it into a series of hoppers that will eventually push it into a chest that we have right over there. And I'll show you that in a little bit. Now, before we check out where the finished items are deposited, let's take a look at where they start. So if we go right around the corner here, we will see we've got a little chest right here. And it's a little weirdly configured just because of how I have everything laid out. There's probably could be laid out a little better, but it is what it is right now, so it's fine. We have a chest here where we deposit all of our items. When the items are deposited, there's going to be 2 hopper minecarts, one here, one here. We'll go right here, and they'll wait until the items from inside the chest are deposited into them. The way that happens is there's actually a piston here and another one here that'll shoot out, and it'll block this track off until either this chest is empty or this hopper minecart is full. So I'm going to show you what goes on this side of the hopper minecart. This side is laid out the exact same way, but it's very cramped, so it's hard to get in there. This one's a lot more open and easier to look at. But what happens is a hopper minecart is going to come down here. This piston is going to be extended, and it's going to stop the minecart right here. That'll allow it to start pulling items out of this chest here. Now, as it's pulling items out of this chest, this comparator is going to be checking it. Now, I have a torch here with a little bit of redstone going into the comparator. This is so that this comparator only turns on when the hopper minecart is completely full. So this is the block that the comparator on the other side is pointed into. So when that comparator turns on, it's going to turn this torch off, which will turn this circuit off. This circuit right here tells this comparator whether or not the piston that's controlled right over here, this piston right here, tells it whether or not it should be extended. So when this red circuit turns off, that means the piston turns off and it retracts, and it allows the minecart to go about its business, deposit all of its wares in the furnace array. All right, so what happens when the minecarts aren't full, but the chest is empty, so there's no more items that can go into the minecart? What do we do in that situation? Well, that's what this yellow circuit detects. This yellow circuit will turn on if there's no items in the chest, like it is right now. So when this yellow circuit is on, what it's going to do is power this repeater, which will go into this comparator, which will lock this comparator. That's why this piston isn't extended right now, because this comparator is locked. It can't extend. And it's only doing that because the chest is empty. If we put some items in the chest, this will unlock and it'll allow the piston to push out. Now, what happens if there's still items in the chest, but the minecart is full? Like, the minecart can't take any more items. We got to send that out. So what do we do in that situation? Well, that's what this blue circuit is for. So this blue circuit here, as it's powered, it's going to send power through here. It's going to hit this comparator here, then into this repeater, and it's going to power this monostable circuit. Now what a monostable circuit does is it just sends a really quick one-tick pulse right through the block and into this repeater. So this repeater will only be active for one tick. The reason why we need the one tick on the other side is because of this right here. This fence gate is what's holding up the entire column of hopper minecarts above here. I believe there's, I want to say 6 or 7 hopper minecarts up there. But this fence gate is what's holding all of them up. And we only want this fence gate to open and close just fast enough to let one through at a time. And the only way we can do that is with a very quick 1-tick pulse. So that's why it's very important that it's only a 1-tick pulse there. Now we're going to go back to this block. If you remember, this is the block that the comparator on the other side will power once the minecart is full. So when that minecart is full, this will turn off, which will turn this off. And as you can see, this torch is turned off because this block is powered. But when this block becomes unpowered, this torch will turn on, which will turn off this torch. Because this torch is off, the power through here will turn off, and this piston will retract. Because that piston's retract, it can now be set up for another monostable circuit pulse. Now you may be wondering, why is there a circuit so high up in the air? What's this white circuit supposed to do? Well, to answer that, we have to go over to here, back to where the bamboo shoots up. Now when bamboo shoots up, it starts going all along in here, and it starts going down all these channels, as it's supposed to. The problem is, if there were such an instance where there's bamboo flowing through here, and hopper minecarts start entering the arrays, the minecarts can start shooting along here, and they can start picking up bamboo that's up here. And because they picked it up, they can start putting it in this furnace array. That actually happened to me a couple times when I was in the process of making this array. Happened more often than I care to admit, but it did happen. So it led me to devise a solution for it. And that's what this is doing right here. So what this is doing here is there's a tripwire, as you can see right there. It's a tripwire that detects if there's a minecart up here right at the top. And if there is a minecart, this will be powered. Same thing on this side right here. You can see the tripwire hook right there. So as long as both of these are powered, these redstone torches will be turned off, and this circuit will be off right here. But what were to happen if one of these torches was on? Well, let's see. We follow it down here. It's going to go into here. It's going to connect to this purple circuit. This purple circuit's running underground here. And it eventually makes its way to this right here. And then it eventually powers this piston. Now this piston pushes this packed ice block right here, blocking bamboo from being able to enter the array. So essentially the bamboo is just coming in through here, just piles up right here. That's important because, like I said, we don't want the mine carts in here that are going through the array to start picking up bamboo and depositing it in the furnaces. That's going to start breaking things. Definitely bad. Okay, so we know the mine carts will go here, they'll get their items, and then they'll be sent off. So where are they getting sent off to? So for this one, we'll actually follow this one right here. This mine cart will get sent off. It'll start going down this way. And we'll start following this track right here. Right along in here, just like this. Just like this. And then it's going to enter this right here. Now this is set up in a very particular way. The way I have this set up is that the mine carts will always go to the furthest array first and then kind of start making the way back. So they'll go to this array first, then this array, and then this array. So minecart's going to come in through here. It's going to follow this track because the track is oriented this way. It's going to keep going straight. Because the track is oriented this way, again, it's going to keep going straight, but then it's going to hit this detector rail. When it hits this detector rail, it's going to power this dropper, which will send this item down. When it sends the item down, this comparator will detect it, it'll power, and it'll cause this torch to become unpowered. Now let's see what happens when the torch becomes unpowered. We'll simulate it by just destroying it. Well, now this track switched. So now the second minecart that comes this way is going to come this way just like this, except instead of going straight, it's now going to turn. So now we've got to go into the second array here. Now once the minecart goes this way, it's going to hit this detector rail. When it hits that detector rail, it's going to power this dropper, send in its item down here, turn this comparator on, power this, and then simulating torch being out. So the third minecart that's going to come through here is going to come through here just like this. And then it's going to go here, it's going to turn, and it's going to hit this detector rail. When it hits this detector rail, the signal is going to go out here, and it's going to power these blocks here, which will power both droppers on the bottom here, sending their items back up. Essentially turning these torches back on, just like that. And thus the cycle continues. Okay, so hopper minecart's been shooting down this track here. It's going to keep on going. Now what we want it to do is go up that track there and circle around this array until it's empty. Well, how do we do that? Well, that's where this detector rail comes in. When the minecart runs over this detector rail, it'll activate this comparator, which will then activate this repeater. Now, if there's items still in the minecart, this comparator will turn on. It'll power this, which will then, let's see if we can squeeze on over here, which will then go down here, just like that. And it'll power this block, which will unpower this torch. And when this torch is unpowered, do our unpowered torch simulator, this track switches to pointing this way. And so it stays on the track. But let's say it runs over that detector and the comparator says there's no items in it. Well, then this torch is staying powered, which will then allow the minecart to shoot off the track here, go here, then here, then it's go on to this track here, right up onto this track, and this track will eventually feed right into its drop-off point. But as you can see here, when this torch is powered here, it turns this track into a very awkward position. Remember, we want the incoming carts to go this way and not that way. So how do we do that? Well, that's where that detector rail comes into play. That detector rail is going to power that redstone right there, which will then power this block and unpower this redstone torch. And it'll do that for just long enough to allow the minecart to continue on its path and go up in here. Okay, now that we've seen the whole furnace array, and we've seen all these streams that deposit the finished items, get pulled in by hopper minecarts, let's see what happens to those items. So they're all going to get deposited right down in here, right in this colorful mishmash of wool and redstone. So we have a few main circuits in here. We have this yellow circuit right here, which handles the 2 droppers in the back of the chest that the items all get pushed into. The blue circuits handle the droppers on the sides. There's another one right on the other side. Now, for the circuit that has given me probably about 95% of the problems I've had with this, it's the pink circuit. Now, the reason why this is giving me so much problems is partially by the nature of what it is. So I wanted to get 2 droppers underneath the chest to push items up underneath the chest into the chest. But in order to do that without having the hoppers that connect into the droppers start sucking items out of other hoppers and droppers in the area, I had to drop it down 3 droppers. So we have 1 dropper here, 1 dropper here, And there's another one right on the other side of that block there. So it was the difficulty of sending items all the way up to the top in one continuous go without any items being lost in any of these droppers. That's been the one that's been giving me the most problems, but so far this circuit's been pretty reliable at that. Now, part of what's given me so many problems with the pink circuit is that items will periodically, actually quite often, get stuck in one of these droppers, either this one or this one. I think it's just the nature of the beast. There's so many things going on all the time, so many things are powered, that maybe it's some bug that causes it to break, or the droppers just get locked somehow. I'm not sure what causes it, but these droppers will start filling up with items, one of the two usually. So I created the black circuit here to deal with that particular problem. All right, enough about how this whole thing works. Let's actually see it in action. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to fill this chest completely full with gold ore. And we're going to see how long it takes for all this gold ore to be smelted into gold. I'm going to get a timer set up here real quick. And we're going to start the timer now. So yeah, as you can see here, it pulls items out of the chest very quickly. You can see we've got 10 stacks of items already pulled out. And then if you look at the sides right there, you see the hopper mine carts just got dispensed and they flew right under the chest, and they're continuing. And they're going to keep doing that until the chest is completely empty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, do not adjust your screens. You are seeing it right. This is not sped up footage. This is real time. The gold bars are actually being added into the chest that fast. We're talking a full stack of items every 2 to 3 seconds now. Yeah, have you ever seen items flown into a chest that fast before? Probably not. It's pretty great. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about before, where items will get stuck in this middle hopper here for some reason, and it'll only allow it to basically continue on once everything else is cleared up around it. So yeah, that's exactly what this is for. So it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And we'll just let it keep doing its thing. All right. And the items have all flown in here, and it took about roughly 5 minutes to do. That's pretty impressive. A full large chest full of items, fully smelted in 5 minutes. That's pretty crazy. All right, well, that's about all the time I have today for this video. I'm actually going to be making a tutorial for this particular furnace array. I'll have that out in a little while. I don't have a particular timeline for it yet. But if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you really liked it, please leave a comment. Otherwise, thank you and have a fantastic rest of your day.